I just got my current performance wiring harness, and I'm a little disappointed. Sent them pictures of how the injectors were on this thing. As you can see, they're all straight down the middle. And they divided them off left and right side, the big huge area between it. So I'm going to have to end up redoing a lot of this harness. Yeah, I'm just disappointed. It's going to look like junk if I leave it like this. I mean, all this stuff be running across the top of the engine. I don't want all that. So, start cutting, redoing all the wiring. I think everything I need's there. It just looks like junk. See, I wanted one harness that would come right down the middle here, just for the injectors. And then one that come down here for the coil packs. So, start cutting. Alright, I've been tearing the wire harness apart. Mainly just trying to get the injector loom out. That's the main thing I need to get, is the injector wires out and run them all up along here. So once I do that, I should be able to put everything back together, and I'll have a coil wire come in here and some other wires running down around. That's fine there. It's just the injector wires are the problem, and I understand that it's custom and all, and you know, it's just kind of disappointing when you send pictures and try and get everything done right. You know, it's just frustrating more than anything. But if you're doing a custom build of any kind, trust me, you're going to be modifying that expensive part. This is a $900 harness. I'm modifying it. Alright, I got one side kind of laid out where I want it. I made sure and label all the connectors before I pulled them out of the loom. Wish they would have given me a little bit more room back here. Let's see if I can stretch that out a little bit, or I really don't want to cut it, but I'm going to get the other loom cut free, the ones for the other injectors, and see what I got. Alright, I got all the injector wires running where they need to run. Now I got to tie everything up, tape it up, make it look better. I ended up having to cut one wire. This wire here to there was just stretched so tight it was going to be ridiculous. So I cut that. It's no big deal. I splice another wire in. I do it all the time at work. So now I got to clean all this mess up and make it look good again. Alright, I got the injector harness ran where I want it now. It'll come up through the top. I ended up doing kind of a split deal. I split down each side there. They all plug into the respective injector. And I'm going to make a little clamp to go from here to here to hold this up, because there's a lot of weight on this harness here. If I let that hang down, that injector there isn't too happy, the harness there. There would have been like 3 more inches of injector harness right there. It would have helped out a ton. Another thing I'm not sure about, this is for all the fans and your starter. I may undo this loom. And run the wires, instead of under the intake, around the outside under the motor. I should have room for that in there. Other than that, I think I can live with it. I did have to splice 2 wires because I had to lengthen them because they just would not reach no matter what. And that really helped out a lot back here. So now I got to decide if I want to mess the rest of the harness up, but it'll look a lot cleaner. Alright, I decided to get rid of the harness that ran along the right side under the intake. It was big, huge, and it was hard to get my idle air control valve in the right spot. So I basically just pulled it out of the loom they had it in, and kind of redone it right there. So now I'm going to go down along here. This goes up to the ECM, so those are fine. And then down here I'm gonna run this. I'll probably do a little bit of a zigzag just in case I ever decide to change my mind. Run it up here, and then down here is all the starter hookups and the knock sensor and crank sensor. So I think I'll be ready to put this in first thing next week. Today's Saturday, so maybe Monday or Tuesday I'll be able to get it in. We'll see how it goes. Alright, so it's a little after 9 in the morning, and the truck awaits the LS7 swap. My goal today is get the engine in, get most of the wiring in. I know it's not going to run today. Hopefully my tuner can come out later this week. I don't know. I haven't talked to him a whole lot about it yet, but anyways, if I can get the engine in, get everything done this week, other than the tune, I'll be happy. So we'll see what happens. Here we go. Another great tool people should consider putting in their arsenal if they're a mechanic. I love these cordless electric 1/4-inch drive ratchets. They come in very, very handy. Off with the exhaust. Yes, it's a very tight fit. Alright, I just got the grill off. I was going to show you, I like to keep everything nice and neat, so I've painted my entire core support while I was out last time. I also wire wheel and paint all the bolts on it too, so pay attention to the detail. People actually notice that kind of stuff. Makes your ride stand out a little more than the next Joe Blows, so little tip. Alright, something else I'm going to show you I had in this truck I thought was pretty neat. My air intake goes down between the fans. You can see my mass airflow sensor there. And then a lot of people gave me grief that my air filters were going to suck up water. Now this is behind the bumper. After I got it off, you can see the air filters. You're not going to suck water up through those things unless it's above the middle of the wheels. So there's the proof. Like I said, it's even tucked up behind the bumper, so even when it's raining, it's not going to get wet. And they've been on there since I've built this thing, and I'm going to save everything and put it on another truck later. Alright, got everything underneath undone. I was going to show you how I had to do my mount because of my fender well headers. We cut the factory mount down, as you can see where that curved spot is, and then welded in a real heavy piece of solid steel bar stock. So we welded it around to give it the extra support. That way we can run the exhaust down the side of the truck without it showing. Did the same thing over here. So I got my e-brake cable off, transmission shifter cable off, battery all undone, transmission temperature sensor undone. All I think I have left is the core support mounts. They'll stay with the truck. I'll just undo those down here. And on top, everything's undone there too. Alright, I got the top side all undone. I'm going to leave the AC compressor with the cab. I'm going to hold it up here at the hood. It's loose. Undid all the wiring, threw it on top of the motor. Had to undo the brakes and undid the fuse block here. So steering shaft is loose. As it comes up, I should be able to pull it out. So next step is to put the cab up in the air, and I'll show you how I do that. Alright, I'm ready to pull the cab off. It's kind of sketchy how I got to do this, but I've done it before and it works. Got a ratchet strap running down on each side of the lift, running through the truck, and of course some protectors on it. Got some really long lift stands on the lift, so here goes nothing. Now it's going to be a slow and painful process. Alright, that little snap you heard was, I forgot the drive shaft safety loop was on it, and when I lifted the truck up, it pulled the transmission with it and broke the rubber mount. Luckily it was rubber, and I'll just have to put another mount on it, no big deal. So, I'm going to carry on. That's it. Alright, that was what was hanging me up a minute ago. Ripped the mount off the transmission, but no biggie, I'll just get another one. Now the engine is ready to be plucked out. Alright, got the engine out of the chassis, as you can obviously see. Before I put it in, I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup. Believe it or not, this frame was all nice and shiny at one time. So I'm going to do a quick cleaning on it, and then I'll slap the other engine in and start transferring parts over. Alright, I got the new engine sitting in. One thing I'll tell you, on these Holley valve covers, they give you a little bracket to relocate the coil over that way, because it will hit the alternator if you don't. I put the alternator on there and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Luckily I didn't throw that bracket away, which I almost did because I had no idea what it was for. So now you know that's what it's for. The other problem I think I'm going to have is these back coils on both sides. I'm not sure they're going to clear. So I'm going to pull both of them off when I set the cab back down and then put them back on if there's room. If not, I'll have to make a relocation for those two. So it's going together. It's taking longer than I should have because I had to make 100 trips to different parts stores getting different gaskets. So here we go. Alright, I got everything on. I'm going to have to get new plug wires. Those are just way too long. So I'll get new plug wires, drop the intake and everything on once it's back on. So it took way longer than it should have. But it's 10:30 now. I started on about 9 o'clock this morning. So here we go. Alright, here it is sitting in there, and see how close that is to the booster. I'm glad I took them off because there is no way they were going to work. And over here, it would have worked, except I would have had to relocate it because the boot, or the spark plug wire would not go on the coil. So I think right now my best option is just pull my old valve covers off the other engine, put them on here. It's the only thing I can see to do. Well, I went ahead and buttoned up the front of the truck here. I set the intake on for inspiration. Looks pretty cool sitting in there. I've decided to go back with stock valve covers and the coil packs that I had on here before. I am going to weld on a bung now. I'm decided to ditch PCV altogether and just run a catch can. So I'll weld on some bungs onto the factory headers and then run them over to a catch can. And that way I don't have to worry about fooling around with trying to get PCV to work. It's just so crammed back in the back of this thing right now. I obviously don't have the wires hooked up or nothing like that, but the wire harness underneath the truck is done. I still need to get a thermostat down there. and hook up a couple more things up top. Finish routing my wires up here and hook my fuse block up. And hopefully in another week it'll be ready to run, but that's all for now.